What's going on, guys? And welcome to a new episode of Spartan Ownership. Today I want to talk about 10 lessons that I learned from reading, from hanging out, from listening to Jack Donovan. He is the author of The Way of Men, Becoming a New Barbarian, Sky Without Eagles, I believe, is the book. A Sky Without Eagles. I have the other books on Kindle, and I've actually hung out with him. I have another video called Lessons from Hanging Out with Jack Donovan that I did a while back. But this is like 10 things I basically learned from reading about him, reading his works, and this is definitely some stuff that, as a man, you will definitely benefit from. And I got a little list here, so if I'm looking down, I'm just reading this because I don't want to miss any points. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So, lesson number 1 is the 4 tactical virtues. Number 1 is honor. That's probably my favorite one. Then there's strength, there's courage, and there's mastery. I don't believe there's any order to them. But strength, courage, mastery, honor. Those are the 4 tactical virtues of masculinity. And basically, to give you a quick summary, strength is very straightforward. It's your ability to exert your will on your environment and other men. Courage is basically your ability to withstand pressure, to be cool under pressure, to have that certain grace under pressure, to be able to move past your fears and get whatever it is you need to do for yourself or for your tribe. Obviously, there's probably better ways of explaining this, but I'm doing my best here based off my current understanding. So then there's mastery, which is basically your ability to actually have skills of some sort. Because if you're in a tribe, right, and you have no skills of any sort, you don't really have much value to the tribe, and how are other men going to rely on you if you have no skills? If you're just a jellyfish, that can lift a few things, which is a skill in a way, but if all you have is the other tactical virtues, but you don't have mastery, you don't have much value. And then the 4th one is honor. Honor is basically, there's 2 types of honor. There's horizontal honor, which is basically the ability to kind of like get respect from your peers, get respect from other men within your tribe. And then there's vertical honor, which is like, let's say you did something glorious, you accomplished some magnificent feat of strength or courage or whatever it is, you will probably get a vertical honor, which is like, it's sort of like people looking up to you in a way. Okay, so that's even more than like respect. It's like, it's vertical is a good way to put it. So that's the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned is train for honor. And that one is amazing to me. Basically, a lot of guys today, bodybuild and, try to train for aesthetics. And something about that, even when I first heard about bodybuilding and just training for aesthetics, something about that sounded kind of wrong, and that was before I even heard about this concept of training for honor. And the reason is because if all you're doing is training to look good and to attract the opposite sex, it's like, okay, but like, you're not really training to become stronger then. You're not really training to become better and faster and more capable of exerting your strength on the environment and other men. You're not really training to be a better man and a stronger man. You're just training to look better. It's like a weird kind of metrosexual type of approach to training. So Jack says, train for honor. Train because that's what we're meant to do as men. We come from harsh environments before everything got all comfortable in this first world civilization we're in now. Train for the honor that it gets from other men as well. When you have a strong and intimidating physique, other men tend to respect you more, and you tend to be regarded more amongst other men. So that's a great reason to train. That's a manly reason to train. Keyword manly. Instead of just training so you can look good and have the V shape and the 6-pack and look like some faggot, basically. So the third thing is bonobo masturbation society. What's that mean? Well, we live in a really comfortable society these days. We live in a really cushy society these days. And, people these days basically know more about the Kardashians than they do about the 5 past war. Can you name 5 war heroes? Let me ask you this. Can you name 5 war heroes within the past 10 years? That basically served within the past 10 years. And even when I heard that first, I was like, shit, I don't think I can. And it took me a while, and eventually I came up with a name, or more than 5 names, but it didn't come right off the bat. But I can easily name 5 celebrities, you know what I mean? So we live in a masturbation society where everybody's chasing self-indulgence, instant gratification, promiscuity. And hey, I talk a lot about game and pickup and all, and dating stuff. Like, I get it. It's definitely part of being a man, is being able to go out and get women and approach and seduce. But it's true, like, when you look at it, that everything is so like, I'm sexy and I know it, and you're going out and you're clubbing and everything is just so like, it's just weird and superficial, and it's really masturbatory. At the end of the day, sure, if you get 100 notches, good for you, but like, is that really what being a man is about? No. Being a man is more than that. Being a man is so much more than that, and we're going to get into some of the more reasons right now. Number 4 is starting an actual tribe. Okay, so there's a part of his book, In the Way of Men, called How to Start a Gang, and then he goes into saying, he doesn't mean like a criminal gang, because that's not his intent. Like, what he means is just a way to organize with other men, because we're so distracted by this bonobo masturbation society. And by the way, if you guys don't know what a bonobo is, it's a certain type of monkey. And there's basically, he makes the comparison that men are more like chimps at their real selves, but bonobos are basically monkeys that have no sense of who their father is, because their entire like group keeps having sex all the time, and they do it for social reasons and to bond and stuff like that, and just to have a good time. They live in places where the food is abundant. The monkeys don't know who their fathers are. They only know who their mothers are. There's a lot of homosexuality and stuff like that in there. And it's basically very masturbatory, and, the women resolve the conflicts. The men don't really, organize themselves at all. And that's basically what today is looking like in a lot of ways. So, back to How to Start a Gang, he means, let's fucking leave the bonobo masturbation state we're in and actually organize with other men again, and actually become stronger with other men again, and actually develop other virtues with other men again. And I'm going to get into why starting a gang is so important, but that's definitely one of the things that he inspired me to do in a way. And now I find myself organizing with other men in various ways. But one way is we hold each other accountable. We hold each other to a higher standard. We have each other's backs. That's one of the ways that my current unit is like. So, moving on. Number 5. Honor can only exist in a tribal setting. So, that's correlated with the 4th one, which is How to Start a Gang. Another reason you want to is because honor, right, the ability to get other men to respect you, the ability to have that, like, reverence among other men, only exists within an honor group. Why? Because how are you going to be honored if you're not even in a group? Like, what's the standard then? There's no such thing as universal honor, because honor may mean something else to someone else. If you're in a gang, like a criminal gang, Bloods, Crips, honor for you might be, the fact that you robbed the bank. But if you live in like a Christian community where everyone's really religious, then honor might take on different significance. So the point is, honor can't exist unless you're actually part of a tribe or part of an honor group, because the honor group is what sets the standard in the first place for you to actually have a standard in which people can honor you by. So that's definitely important, and another reason as to why men should organize and start tribes. The 6th thing is pride in my heritage. So after reading Jack's works, basically, I started becoming more proud of my heritage, of my culture, of the fact that I'm white. I come from a European background. before that, I never really felt proud. I guess that's one way to put it, but I never really had everybody always demonizes white people, in this society. So it's almost like Jack gave me permission to be proud of my freaking culture once again. If you look at any college, university and stuff like that, there's always the black history groups, the black, African American groups. They have like Spanish groups, Latin American groups, and they all meet up together and they discuss their history and stuff. There's Black History Month. There's affirmative action and all this stuff. And basically there's nothing that really allows white people to just be white people and be proud of themselves anymore. Like white people are always pandering to everybody else and always apologizing to everybody else and always feeling guilty about everybody else. This whole slavery shit. Okay, I mean, yeah, there was slavery and it was atrocious and it shouldn't have happened. But at the end of the day, in the Civil War, who died to end slavery? Fucking hundreds of thousands of white men laid down their lives to end slavery, okay? What else happened? Well, if you go a little bit before that in terms of history, black people enslaved each other. Middle Eastern people enslaved the shit out of black people, and it was 1,000 times worse than what was over here. What else happened? Black kings and stuff sold their own people to the American, what's it called, slave traders. So black people were sold out by their own people in Africa in a lot of cases, okay? They weren't just kidnapped off these islands. So basically, the point I'm trying to make is that white people have been too apologetic recently, and after reading his works, I've definitely become more proud of myself, more proud of my heritage, more proud of what we've done as a people, of my culture, of my ancestors, and I don't really find myself apologizing much anymore and feeling guilty at all, because I didn't even do any of that shit in the first place. And those that did were a very small percentage, and there was way worse shit before that, and everybody else gets to be proud, so why the fuck can't I, right? So moving on, I think we're at numbers, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we're at 6 there. So now we're going to go to 7. Violence is golden. And then I jotted down that most people, and basically it's been mainstream, like John Lennon, for instance, that he sings about Imagine, that song, that famous song where it's all about like love and all this other stuff. And it's basically an escapist fantasy. Okay. At the end of the day, violence is golden. And here's why. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that actually is at the bare bones level of control in this world. Meaning, the warrior class is the ruling class. The only reason you're alive today, if you're in the United States at least, is because a lot of men laid down their lives and fought ridiculously bloody wars to keep this country safe and to keep it the way it is. So you only exist, you're only in this country ruled by, and you're not even really ruled, well, we live in a somewhat free country still. So the only reason it's like this is because of violence, okay? And the only reason that you're living in a home that's safe right now is because of violence. Because you have police protecting you, you have men that are basically ready to become violent at a moment's notice to protect you, okay? So basically what Jack is trying to say is that let's stop demonizing violence like it's this evil thing and everything. Like, yeah, sure, violence isn't the only answer, but it's the final answer. And that's how Jack phrases it. And it's that learn how to cherish the battle axe. That's another thing he says. Learn how to use violence if necessary, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's holding everything into place right now. The only reason civilization right now is the way it is, once again, is because men have laid down their lives for it to be this way. And because you're protected right now, because there's police officers that are willing to, to hurt or even kill criminals that would easily and ruthlessly and would love to just take your stuff right now and to just rob you. But they don't, because they know there's men out there that will do them harm. So instead of just always relying on police and always relying on the government, own that shit yourself too. Like, you're a man. If violence is the final answer, be able to actually do something about that final answer and influence it. Otherwise, how are you going to be a man if you can't even influence that final answer that other stronger men are influencing? If you don't influence it, you will be influenced. Because if I'm bigger and stronger than you and you think violence is evil and love is the final answer, if I want your shit, I'll take it. All right? And vice versa. So that's why I train for every day. And that's another reason to train, right? Train for honor. Number 8, stop explaining/apologizing to outsiders. That's in his book, Becoming a New Barbarian. I'm not spoiling too much, I hope, because there's still so much content in there. So anyway, stop explaining/apologizing to outsiders. So what that means is, if you have a tribe, a culture, maybe a little local town or whatever, the point is, if you're within a tribe of like-minded people, you have a culture and a custom and everything, stop trying to explain yourself to other cultures, okay? There's a ton of different cultures out in this world. So worry about yourself and about the people around you. And sure, you can start helping the world and everything, but at the end of the day, dude, just protect your own shit, protect your own people, and worry about that. Don't spend all your time worrying about what's going on overseas when shit in your own backyard isn't up to point yet. If you have a tribe, if you have a family, make sure everything's going great there first before you start branching off into other countries and trying to help them. Then number 9 is, don't be a Ronin. Tribal identity is what matters and what will keep you in check. So in today's society especially, we have this idea of the Ronin, which is basically like, I'm a loner, I'm a loner, I do things my own way, and I live life on my own terms, and I don't need anybody else, and you kind of just live your own isolated lifestyle. And that's becoming more and more popular because it's kind of easy to do that right now. Like, you can just kind of veer off and live in your own basement, and nobody will bother you per se. But here's the thing with that, and it's that you are ultimately a weak, infinitesimal, and insignificant person by doing that, because you have no standards, because nobody's even checking, nobody's keeping you in check, no one's holding you accountable. You're not part of a bigger mission or a bigger purpose. You're just a tumbleweed, floating around. You have no connection to anything bigger than you, and no one's holding you accountable, so you're not really in a place or in an environment that's developing you. So you're 1,000 times weaker, and it's just ultimately not a place to be. We're humans. We're meant to be social, and we're meant to be tribal. Especially men, we're meant to bond with other men and set up these alliances and set up these perimeters. So don't be a Ronin. Be in a tribe, join a tribe, create a tribe, but organize yourself with other men. Don't just be some loner loser. And then number 10, the nature of woman unchecked by man is to child-proof the world. So, Jack says that in one of his, I can't even remember which book he said that in, but it's very true. Right now, we're obviously headed towards a more feminized world. Recently, with Trump winning the election, that vision basically slowed down a bit, I hope, and it seems to have definitely pissed off a few social justice warriors, that's for sure. But the more feminine the world is, Hillary Clinton was caught saying the future is feminine or something like that. It's just showing you basically where we're headed if we continue that pattern of allowing more and more women to take control and basically rewarding them for doing so. I'm not advocating we go backwards in time and we basically chain women to the kitchen. Not that, I don't think that ever really existed, although yeah, maybe it did in certain cultures, especially in Muslim cultures. That's the case right now. Women can't even wear what they want in the streets. They can't even go outside without a man in certain countries. But what I'm saying is, the more we encourage women, the more we constantly tell them, oh, you can be anything, you got to be successful and all this other shit that doesn't really matter for them. Because at the end of the day, most women would proudly and happily raise children and be in a family. If you look at studies, it shows that housewives are the most happy women in the world, and that women's happiness is going down every single decade since the 1930s or something. It's just been going downhill. And it's because women are constantly being pushed into these masculine roles, into these masculine environments, into these masculine aspirations. When in reality, for thousands and thousands of years, plus their evolutionary programming, they were happily just raising the family, keeping the house an amazing environment. organizing within their communities to beautify the environment, organizing with other women to raise their children better, to make sure that the family model is working properly. That's a big job, and it's so important. It's so important because those family environments are what raise strong, healthy, empowered individuals. But in today's society, we're rewarding women, that are changing their sexes. We're rewarding men that are changing their sexes. Think Bruce Jenner. You see these horrible freaking bull dykes all over the place. These like fat lesbians with short hair and freaking nose rings. They're all over TV now. You got all these stupid ass comedians that are basically, it's like affirmative action for destabilizing the family unit and increasing sort of like the feminine energy in the world, making men more feminine. And what that creates is, if you look at women, what do they always do? Oh, be careful, Johnny. Don't do this. Don't do that. Da, 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 da. The more that mindset pervades government, the more that mindset pervades health contracts, everything like that's going on within society today, you're going to just move to a world that's so much more safe than it is free, right? And one of the famous quotes that I keep hearing, I think by Benjamin Franklin, is you can either have safety or you can either have freedom, but ultimately one is going to come at the cost of the other. And I just butchered the shit out of that quote, but you get the point. The more safe and childproof your world is, the less free you are. The more rules there are, the more consequences there are, the more punishments there are for doing this, for doing that, for saying this, for saying that, for thinking this, for thinking that. The more this society is going to head downhill, the more freedom is going to be increasingly eradicated until we're in this weird prison where, if you want to live a life of safety, just lock yourself up in a basement all day and don't do shit. Don't ever leave. That's how you'll be safe. But is that a life? So I hope you guys got this. I definitely ranted here. And I'm still learning all this stuff, and I'm always getting better at understanding it. But as of now, and after a few years of studying this kind of stuff and actually meeting with people, this is 10 things that I learned with Jack Donovan from reading his works, from meeting him. And I definitely recommend that you guys check out his book, The Way of Men, Becoming a New Barbarian, Sky Without Eagles. He has amazing content that I think every man should really read in this country, because that'll inspire a growth of organizations of men, of gangs of men that are not criminally oriented, but are strong, empowered individuals that are seeking virtue, self-improvement, constant growth in all areas of life. And ultimately, that's how we'll be happier than ever. Because right now, we live in a weird, disconnected world of fantasy escape, instant gratification, and the only gangs there are for men to organize are all criminal gangs that are ultimately pretty nasty, short, and brutish. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and talk to you guys soon.